रमेश्वरी प्रपन्नाहं गुरुपादारविन्दयोः तस्य प्रेरणया तस्य दिव्यादेशं वदाम्यहम्। अहो बकीयं स्तनकालकूटम् जिघांसया ययदप्यसाध्वी लेभे गतिं त्र्युचितां ततोऽन्यम् कं वा दयालुं शरणं व्रजेम। नमः कमलनाभाय नमः कमलमालिने नमः कमलपादाय नमस्ते कमलेक्षण। यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तद्ग्वं देवमात्म बुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये। Dear devotees, let us chant first for a few minutes. भजो गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला भजो गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला ओ भजो गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला जगत गुरु श्री कृपालु महाप्रभु की
जय।
वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की
जय।
जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे। The scriptures tell us that God cannot be known by merely listening to discourses, nor can you know Him by studying the scriptures, nor can you know Him by hearing about Him. Then how can He be known? Countless people have known and attained Him in the past. The Vedas themselves tell us, Yamevaisha vrinute tena labhyastasyaisha atma vivrinute tanugvam swam. Kathopanishad 1-23. Only through His grace can He be known. Only through His kripa. The scriptures say that it is only the most fortunate soul who is blessed with God's grace, who can see Him, know Him, attain Him, and become eternally gratified, eternally satisfied. Dhatu prasadat deva prasadat, state the Vedas. Only through His prasad, in other words, grace, kripa, can one know Him. Tasya no rasva, tasya no dhehi. Atharvaved. There's no other way possible. And how can His grace be attained? Lord Krishna Himself tells us in the Gita, Tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashvatam tameva sharanam gaccha sarva bhavena bhyarat. 1862. He says to Arjun, Arjun, only through His grace can you attain divine bliss. And how can His grace be attained? In the second line of the same verse, he says, and you will attain His grace only when you take refuge in Him, only when you take shelter in Him. In other words, only when you surrender to Him, only then can you attain divine happiness and divine love. And Rig Ved, it is also stated, To dasyev sharana amahasya. God says, I will bless you with grace only after you surrender yourself to me. So let us talk a little bit about surrender. Sharanagati. There are 6 primary main symptoms or qualifications or limbs of Sharanagati, complete surrender, mentioned in the scriptures. शरणागति के प्रमुख 6 अंग माने गए हैं. But before I elaborate on these symptoms or these limbs of Purna Sharanagati, let me tell you about some of the wonderful statements filled with inspiration that are mentioned in the scriptures regarding surrendering oneself, submitting oneself unto the lotus feet of Hari and Guru, Lord Krishna or the saint. Because these inspirational statements help us progress in our devotional practice and they inspire us. For example, in the Skanda Puran, as well as in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami, it is said that devotees can offer their submission to the Lord through the following 3 ways. And they are, number 1, samprarthnatmika. Number 2, danyabodhika. And number 3, lalasamai. Expressions of submission. Samprarthnatmika, meaning feelingly offering prayers to God, to the Lord, with intense feelings, emotions, sentiments, with deep bhav. Danyabodhika, meaning humbly submitting oneself unto the lotus feet of Hari or Guru, creating feelings of humility, thinking oneself to be destitute, fallen, helpless before God. And thirdly, lalasamai, expressions of longing to see Him, to meet Him, to serve Him. And this usually occurs in advanced stages of sadhana bhakti, or perhaps more so in bhav bhakti. For example, when a devotee reaches a certain stage in his devotional practice and he comes to the realization, he realizes his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of God, his inherent nature, his deep-rooted, inborn nature. In other words, his eternal relationship with God. And therefore, he wishes to be reinstated to this position through one of the bhavs. Dasya bhav as a servant of Shri Krishna, Sakhya bhav as a friend, Vatsalya bhav as a parent, and Madhurya bhav as a conjugal lover of Shri Krishna. So therefore, he makes an earnest request. This is how he worships, how he practices it. He makes a plea with a crying heart to see Him, to serve Him, to render his eternal devotional service to the Lord. And in the Padma Puran also, there are statements of submission or surrender unto the lotus feet of Shri Krishna or the saint, wherein a devotee is praying to Lord Krishna in the following way. He says, "My Lord, I know that young girls have a natural affection, a natural attraction for young boys in the material world, and vice versa. But I am praying to you at your lotus feet so that my mind may also become attracted to you, attached to you in the same spontaneous way." In other words, a devotee is praying to God so that he may also develop a natural, spontaneous attachment for the Lord, for Shri Krishna, free from any selfish desires of any profit or gain, and without any reason, without any other reason or cause. Just developing a natural, spontaneous affection for the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna. Just imagine how beautiful is that? A natural, spontaneous love. And in the Narad Panchratra also, there are statements of submission, expressions of submission unto God and Guru, wherein a devotee addressing Lord Krishna says, "My beloved Lord, O lotus-eyed one, when will the day come when on the bank of the Yamuna river I will become just like a madman, continuously chanting your divine name, while incessant streams of tears flow from my eyes? When will that day come?" Feelings of longing, feelings of separation. And Gaurang Mahaprabhu has also expressed a similar sentiment in Shikshastak, in Ashtapadi. Yugaitam nimeshena chakshusha pravrishayitam shunyayitam jagat sarvam govind virahena me. He says in the words of the devotee, "My beloved Shri Krishna, even a moment of separation from you seems unto me like an age, like millions of years of time has elapsed. And the whole world, shunya, the whole world seems to me like a blank, as vacant on account of not seeing you. Without you, there remains no charm whatsoever in this material world for me, my dear Lord." In other words, this is how a true aspirant, a true devotee must chant, must meditate, creating these feelings of either longing or even union, but with deep feelings, intense eagerness, intense emotions, intense sentiments, increasing his eagerness to serve God or the saint, to serve, to render his eternal, inherent devotional service to Shri Krishna. And this is the teaching of all great acharyas, of all great rustic saints of Braj, including godly dissensions such as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, such as our own spiritual master, Jagat Guru Shri Kripalu Mahaprabhu. Shrimaji has written numerous compositions expressing these types of sentiments in his devotional songs, in his bhajans, in his kirtans, in his scriptures. Similarly, Sanatan Goswami also has given further qualifications or symptoms of true surrender, of Purna Sharanagati, in his scripture Hari Bhakti Vilas. And this verse, which I'm going to recite, is also in the Vayu Puran. And it is in this verse that the the primary limbs of Sharanagati are highlighted, are mentioned, which are widely accepted as the 6 branches or the limbs of Sharanagati. And they are Anukulasya Sankalpaha Pratikulasya Varjanam Rakshisyatiti vishvaso goptritva varanam tatha atmanikshep karpanyam shadvidya sharanagati. The first one, anukulasya sankalpaha. In other words, having firm resolution, unwavering conviction to accept only those things, only those objects, those conditions that are favorable to bhakti, to devotion or devotional practice, sadhana, and devotional service, seva, to Hari and Guru. And what to say of doing anything against the will of God or Guru? Such a devotee, such an aspirant, even desires only in accordance with the desire of his Sharanya, his Guru, or the deity of worship, the object of worship, Hari and Guru. Pratikulasya varjanam. Secondly, and the opposite of that, rejecting all unfavorable things, unfavorable conditions, objects, associations that are a hindrance in one's devotional practice or devotional service. And thirdly, rakshasyatiti vishvaso. Having firm faith that Hari and Guru will surely protect me at all times and in all circumstances. And fourthly, goptritva varanam tatha, and so on, to maintain an attitude of indebtedness, appreciation, gratitude towards Hari and Guru, towards the saint, the spiritual master. Thinking in this way, that whatever progress I have made in my devotion and whatever sadhana will occur in the near future has all been made possible only through the grace of the saint or Shri Krishna, Hari and Guru. So accepting Shri Krishna, God, or the saint to be your sole protector, furthermore, realizing that whatever we have, that whatever we possess has been given to us by God, and nothing really belongs to us. And this is a fact. You see, this srishti, this creation, is nothing but a manifestation of God Himself. He created this world, this universe. And moreover, when we leave this body, everything remains right here in this material world. Nothing can go with us. The only thing that goes with us is our karma, our good or bad actions, and even beyond that is bhakti, devotion, which promises us a spiritually prosperous life in the next birth. And fifthly, Atma Samarpan, Atma Nikshep, Atma Samarpan, complete self-surrender, surrendering the self unto the lotus feet of Shri Krishna or the Guru, the saint. The soul, the self, Atma Samarpan. Atma means the soul. And we only have three means through which we can surrender to God or Guru. Tana, mana, dhana. Body, mind, and wealth. We don't have any other means to surrender ourselves to God. These are the only things that we possess. And because the mind is extremely fickle, it is so turbulent, restless, the scriptures suggest, state, especially in this age of Kali Yuga, tat siddhais tanuvittaja. The physical and the financial service, seva, together help us purify the mind, help us perform, and therefore help us perform service, seva, with the mind. In other words, meditate on God and Guru. So, Atma Samarpan. And finally, to give up the pride, giving up the pride of having fully surrendered to God, to even give up that ego, that pride that I have fully surrendered myself to Hari, your Guru. And that is most important. Deenta. Humbleness, humility, feelings of humility, the very principle, the underlying principle of devotion, the very basis upon which bhakti stands. Our palace of devotion is built, is developed. So feelings of humility, humbleness. So these aforementioned are the 6 primary limbs, branches of Sharanagati described in our scriptures. And in reality, these 6 symptoms of Sharanagati really, in fact, refer to the saint, the Guru, the spiritual master. They are dedicated to the Guru. Why? Not God. Because, obviously, for obvious reasons, we cannot see God, we cannot hear God, we cannot touch God, then how can we surrender to Him? And therefore the Vedas clearly state, proclaim, Acharyavan Purusho Hi Ved. One can know God only through a saint. The scriptures declare that it is absolutely impossible to surrender to God without first surrendering to the saint. Guru binu bhavanidhi tarai na koi, jo viranji shankar sam hoi. Guru binu hoi ki gyan. And moreover, by surrendering to a Sadguru, a bona fide spiritual master, a saint, the individual soul himself becomes a saint. You see, as the Ramayana says, Soi janai jehi dehu janai, janat tumahi hoi jai, tumari hi kripa tumahi raghunandan, janahi bhagat ur chandan. You see, the individual soul who reaches these 6 stages, who fulfills and attains these 6 stages of perfect surrender, the Guru himself assumes his full responsibility. Theka le lete hain. And therefore, nothing can go wrong for the surrendered soul. He becomes the property of God and Guru, so to speak. As Lord Krishna explains in the Gita, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam braja, aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami ma shachah. 1866. Arjuna, abandon all varieties of dharma and come to me alone for shelter, and I shall release you from all bonds, from the effects of virtuous as well as evil actions, from the bondage of Maya. Ananyāśchintayanto mam ye janah paripāsate tesham nityabhiyuktānam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Elsewhere in the Gita, Lord Krishna says, 9:22, those who worship me exclusively with love and devotion, and who surrender themselves wholeheartedly to me, to them, I provide what they lack and preserve what they have. So in other words, for the surrendered individual, nothing can go wrong thereafter. Such is the benefit of surrendering to Hari and Guru. That the blessed individual forever becomes eternally gratified and attains residency in his divine abode, Golok, Divyadham, divine abode. The Bible also states, give up everything to him. Resign yourself to him. Give up everything to him, resign yourself to him, and then all your sorrows and troubles will come to an end. So with these words, Bole Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki, Srimad Sadguru Sarkar ki. And one other thing, today is a very special day, is a very auspicious day. It is the Chatti of our beloved Master, Shri Maharaj. Chatti is a very important day because it is on this day, first of all, that Lord Krishna, Chatti means the 6th day of birth of Lord Krishna, or the Master, the Guru, the spiritual master. Because it was on this day that Shri Krishna performed one of his most important leelas, his divine pastimes. When the demoness Putana, sent by Kans, Putana was sent by Kans, the she-demon, to suckle baby Krishna poisoned milk in order to put an end to his life, in order to kill him. However, Lord Krishna killed her instead. And thereafter he sent her to his divine abode, Golok. And he gave the explanation that she was now like a mother to him, since he had drunk her milk. He had drunk milk from her breast. And therefore, he so mercifully sent her to his divine abode, Golok. And this Leela is described in the verse that I recited in the beginning. Aho bakiyam stanakalakutam jighansaya payayadapyasadhi lebhe gatim dhatriuchitam tatonyam kamva dayalam sharanam brajema. 3:223 Bhagavad. Hearing this verse from a disciple of Vedavyas, Shukdev Paramhans, the greatest of Gyanis, ever absorbed in the bliss of the impersonal Brahm, rejected the bliss of the impersonal Brahm by coming out of his Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the highest state of Samadhi. He came out of it hearing this verse, which describes a virtue of Shri Krishna, of being causelessly merciful. So who would not, in other words, who would not surrender to such a Lord? Describing this Leela in the last verse, it is saying that who would not surrender to such a merciful God, who's so kind, who finds excuses to bestow his grace. So hearing this verse from the disciple, Shukdev Paramhans opened his eyes. He asked the disciple, who is the author? Who wrote this verse? So the disciple took Shukdev Paramhans to his father, Vedavyas, from whom he heard the entire Bhagavat, which depicts the Leelas of Shri Krishna, and who thereafter recited the same Bhagavat later on to King Parikshit. And this is how Bhagavat came into being before us, before humanity. The greatest granth, the greatest scripture of divine love, of Shri Krishna Prem. So this is the greatest grace. So it is a very special day that this is how we attain the sweetest scripture depicting the Leelas of Lord Krishna as Bhagavatam. And so many souls have benefited since then and attained God realization based on the Bhagavatam. So therefore, and because God and Guru are one and the same personality, as Naraji states in the Narad Bhakti Darshan, all scriptures state, tasmins tajjane bheda bhavat. There's no difference between God and the saint. Both are equal. And also Bhagavat itself states, Acharyam mam vijaniya navamanyet karhichit namartya buddhya suyet sarvadeva mayo guru. Bhagavat 11:17-27, the shlok that we recite after the prayer every day, which means know the Guru to be myself, never find fault with him, do not use your material mind to comprehend his divine actions, for all forms of God dwell within the Guru. Consequently, Chatti is celebrated with great fun and pomp for the spiritual master as well, in India as well. So Chatti is a big festival for both Hari and Guru. So very happy Chatti to all of you. With these words, Bole Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki Jai, Srimad Sadguru Sarkar ki Jai, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri